recording. And we are now recording. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back, folks, to part 2 of the podcast with Dave, the Cutman. Or the Cutman Dave, I should say. Jay, let's get involved.
Thanks for having me.
I was just saying to Jay off camera, Jay is very into UFC and boxing and stuff like that, so I felt a bit bad kind of getting my hands done and not including him in the conversation more. So, Jay, you can kick off the conversation.
All right. Well, first of all, I'll touch on part 1. Yep. It was obviously I was controlling the engineering side of it. It was very good, very enjoyable.
To get that out, yeah.
I'm saying because I watched it all. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was very enjoyable, and some of the stuff that you touched on was very insightful as well. Like I mentioned earlier that you don't really kind of think too much. With me as an MMA fan, I don't really kind of think too much on what the Cutmen do. But it was very, very insightful. Go back to your first memory of combat sports. When did you get into it? Was it something that kind of you fell into, or was it just an example of, let's say, getting into the Cutman thing, and that's how you got into it? Tell me a bit about it.
Well, I started boxing when I was like 6 years of age. So right. I was always involved in boxing all the way right through my life. When I got onto a Cutman stage, I was after being a coach, a judge, a referee. So I done everything in amateur boxing. So I was in the gym, and I seen a Cutman course on Facebook, and that's where I went to be an insight as a Cutman. But then what happened then was I rang Joe Clifford back, and he brought me on to an MMA show, Clan Wars in Belfast, and I rapped, as I said before, 20 odd hands that day, and then I went cage sides for my first ever MMA event. And Decky Larkin, good friend now, was fighting a pro fight, and I was sitting in his corner next to Joe, and we say it was round 2 thereabouts, and he was caught in an ankle hold, and your man was twisting his ankle. Now, I would have cried. I was cringing with the way Ian had his ankle, and he was really locking it. And Decky was looking over at his corner, and they were issuing instructions to him. Do this, do that, And slowly after, it seemed like forever, he just slowly got out of it. No problem.
Yeah.
Just turned it, got his hand in somewhere, and was able to get out of it. And he literally, like, if that was me, I would have been tapping out. Like, he had his ankle nearly 90 degrees turned. It was really, really bad. And I was saying, there's no way would I put my body through that. I would have tapped out long ago. And within 30 seconds, he turned it around, and the other fella was on the receiving end, and he tapped out then after that. That was my first MMA event, and that was just like, wow, blown out of the waters.
Yeah.
Blown out of the waters, I was. With the as I said, an athlete putting his body through ABCD of training, but never mind the pain that he was in the octagon, and then listening to instructions from his coach, positive instruction to get him through to where he needed to be, and everything worked out at that particular time.
Yeah. Would you have been an MMA fan before you got involved in it?
No,
not
really.
I know a lot of traditional boxing heads, let's just say, in the early days, they didn't have time for it. It's street fighting, it's cockfighting, whatever you want to call it. Like, what do you think of it now as opposed to your very first show?
Yeah, like that beforehand, it was like, it's only stand-up kicking, it wasn't even like kickboxing,
Yeah, was it a case of, right, I'm doing it just because it's a job to do type of thing?
No, it was just, as I said, curiosity.
Right.
Curiosity, and that day, it changed everything for me, because it's structured. It's, if you don't know A, B, C, and D, wherever, we say striking, jiu-jitsu, karate, certain martial arts, that's what makes a good fighter.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I'm kind of raging I asked you before we start recording, but explain the differences in wrapping hands for a boxer as opposed to an MMA fighter.
With the difference would be the size of the glove. The MMA glove being 4 to 6 ounces. 6 ounces in amateur and 4 ounces in professional. In boxing, it can range from 8 ounce to 12 ounce. The boxing wrap itself will start with wrapping a bandage from the top of the wrist, really maybe 3 inches up the wrist, where an MMA wrap would be only 1 inch on the wrist. It'll be a thin wrap with strength and structure used with tape, which is zinc oxide tape. The knuckle pad itself would be a small knuckle pad, but enough comfort in it that it's not bare knuckle, you know.
You were saying though, as the boxer one,
but with a boxing one would start with a small knuckle pad. We say only for 4 ounce, because you wouldn't need that big one that you see them all in. Like main people that would see would be in professional boxing. So when you see him, the professional boxer after 10, 12 rounds of boxing, he has this big, huge bandage on his hands nearly, you know. So with a 4 rounder, he wouldn't need all that strength and protection. He will get the strength and protection in a smaller pad, in a smaller bandage, but it still be the same length, but not as heavy and as thick as going 12 rounds, because you need that extra strength and protection as the fight goes on, and as the hand gets wetter and sweatier, the bandage gets a little bit looser. So you need that added extra strength and protection for the latter rounds. So if you're only doing a 4-6 round, you can get away with a thinner bandage, a thinner layers.
Understood. So when you would do, say, a Clan Wars show, and then all of a sudden you're doing a Madison Square Garden show, is it the same, or do you ever just catch yourself in the moment and be like, fuck, last week I was doing Clan Wars, now I'm in MSG? Like, do you ever catch yourself, or are you strictly professional?
No, again, it's like I said before, you know, it's about the fighter. You know, yes, it's great to be in these areas, you know. You're in the O3 Arena, and there's 10,000 people there. You know, you're in Madison Square Garden, there's 20,000 people there. Their hairs stand on the back of your neck. You know, you're walking in there with one fighter, you know, and he's doing his march into the arena, and he's playing his song that he wants to hear, you know. And it's just like, this is it, you know, this is good, you know. But then again, you have to switch off. You get to the ring, you have to switch off. But if you're in an MMA event, when the fighter's coming in, we're generally sitting beside the cage, coming in, and then they greet you. They stop at a certain spot. You grease them up. You make sure everything's all right. There's no aids on them, like for oil balms or anything on their skin or anything like that, you know. So and then the referee looks after them, puts them in there. But again, they're coming to you. You know, it is their time, it is their walk, you know. And when they come to you again, you need to be in control of the situation, because the fighters are jumping. Fighters are jumping all over the place, you know.
Adrenaline all over the place.
And you're trying to Vaseline their face. So you just kind of like, hold on, little word in his ear, stand still for a second there, you know, and just switch off. And they just, some of them just stand there looking at you. Some of them close their eyes. But once they're standing there still, you Vaseline them up. You do what you have to do. You tap them on the shoulder to take a step forward for the referee. And then the referee takes over. Whereas you're in boxing, the boxer is generally enclosed in that corner, you know. So when he comes back to you after touching gloves, you check his Vaseline, you give him some more if it's needed, and he's ready to go. The fight is ready, you know.
I know you mentioned Padjo Hyland. You did a lot of work with him, but is there anyone else other than Padjo who you'd probably have the best chemistry with?
You know, like I worked with stable with Stephen O'Rourke's gym, you know, and guys that have started on the 4-round stage, you know, they're up to the 8-round stage. They had All Ireland shots of belts, you know. So I grew up with his stable, you know,
Yeah.
and the guys that were there, and yeah, it's great, you know,
Yeah.
and it's something that you say like you're a little bit prouder because you grew up with them.
Yeah, you're watching the
You're watching
transition.
them, the transition, rather than you're going to the MMA show and you start off wrapping the hands for Joe Blogs, and then you see him in the next competition. 5 or 6 years later, you're still there, and he's a senior now, you know.
Yeah.
But you're still part of his journey.
Yeah,
Of course.
You know, you're still
Of course.
part of his journey.
On the MMA level, have you wrapped anybody's hands or done any corner work with someone where you probably would have done a small show with them to the point where you've then seen them on a Bellator or you've seen them in a UFC?
Yeah, a lot of guys like that. Yeah, definitely. SBG guys, some guys from the country clubs. I couldn't even remember the names, like you know. But yeah, you know, it's great. It's great again, like that. There's one particular fighter that comes to mind that was fighting on a cage warrior show in the Tree Arena, and he received a broken nose in the second round. He was, how was he? He had your man in an armbar, and your man was able to kick up with him, and he got an up kick, and he ended
Right to the
up,
mush.
yeah, he got a broken nose, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So he came back to the round. At that particular time, there was just blood was everywhere, you know. So straight in, I knew exactly what was wrong, you know.
Yeah.
So straight in, did the work that I had to do, and the doctor didn't interfere until I was finished. So the doctor was very professional, allowed me time to work on the fighter, and then looked at him after the time, because the doctor can hold up a fight for X amount of minutes. You know,
I think it's 5 minutes, isn't it?
Yeah, I only get 1 minute, so I can't afford to give any of them seconds up.
Yeah.
So the doctor doing his job professional should always look after the fighter, look at the fighter after the cut man is done. Anytime you see a fighter or the doctor interfered in between them that time, the cut man isn't getting to do his job fully, and can hinder the fighter get the wounded open quicker during the rounds. But yeah. The guy went out round 3, and round 1 he got the up kick. Round 2 he went back out again after probably about 2 minutes into the round, maybe 2.5 minutes in the round, before his nose bled again. And once it bled again, it was just opened again. So he came back to the corner again. I looked after the fighter. He went out. And at that stage, it was a tight fight, but it wasn't looking in his going his way.
Yeah.
And he managed to stop your man in the next round.
Class.
You know? So
3rd round finish.
You know, you say to yourself, like, that's what I did, you know. I've been another fight was when I was in Russia in the main event. These guys were just killing each other. It was like,
it's different over there, isn't it?
Oh, they're hungry fighters is all I say. There's a guy, there was the promoter that was there. He carried a briefcase of cash, right? Briefcase of cash, and we couldn't understand a word they were saying. They were all talking in Russian. Couldn't understand a word that was going on. They were Mike and the commentator, the MC, everybody was banging away and introduce your man up, and the lads were saying, this is the promoter, this guy, you know. He opens up the big wad of cash and he shows everybody's having a ball, you know. During the course of the night, this fella lost his fight, but he proposed to his girlfriend after losing the fight.
That's a bit weird, isn't it?
He got down on one knee in the cage, like, and it was just like, we were all sitting there going, I would never have done that.
Yeah, not after losing.
You know?
Come here, Dave. So, touching on the money side of things, so obviously, I personally think after the conversation we've had so far on part 1 and now, I think people might be playing around with the idea of kind of getting into this line of work, because let's face it, there's a lot of things that you told us that we kind of would have never thought about, or like even the social part, like, you know what I mean? Regardless of money, I'm sure there's people that would you do it for free?
Sometimes you're nearly working for free, you know.
Yeah,
it's not great money. A good man is not a you're not going to earn a living from it, you know. But it's like I've gone to wrap people's hands. I've said to fighters, okay, you know, it's not you're not going to see big money now, but hopefully that you'll travel with me.
Yeah.
And we will see money and we will share it together when we get there. you know?
Yeah.
Because it's a long road for the fighter, for a boxer, you know, because they have to start off doing.
Unless you're a YouTuber.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in a minute. We will.
So you start off at boxing, you start off at 4-minute rounds. You might do 4 of them, 6 of them. Then you move on to 6 rounders. You might do again another 2, 4 of them. Then you go to 8 rounders and then 10 rounders. You know, you can have a junior Ireland title at 8 rounds, and you can have a full Irish title then at 10 rounds. You know.
So obviously, with the money not being great, am I right to say you're a mechanic?
I'm more a mechanic, So
a mountain mechanic. So, like, with being a mechanic, I'm assuming, like, are you self-employed or do you work?
I work for somebody. Yeah.
Okay, so what's it like getting time off then for these events and stuff?
That can be difficult, you know, depending on I'm 51 years of age now, so
can we just take a minute?
Oh no.
Can we just take a minute? This cunt looks better than me.
It's not that hard to be fair. No, but you do. You look great.
You look fantastic for 51, Dave. I have to say, you look incredible shape. Is that down to using your old skipping rope that you still have from Drim the Boxing Club?
Still skipping.
You do your research, don't you?
Oh, we definitely do. I have to respect me guests, yeah.
No, of course.
Yeah. Still boxing as I was just talking to somebody there a couple of weekends ago, and I said, like, to have a youthful look, a person would have a high level of fitness. Yeah. I think carries your youth.
Yeah, 100%.
Anybody that I know that have been very fit through their years, you know, always looks a lot younger than what they are, you know.
Yeah,
100%.
So, are you still training? Like, how often would you be training now?
I train three times a week now.
And it does being a Cutman help that? Like, your time being in the gym, like, let's say in between wrapping hands, or like, were you always into fitness that much, or like, did the Cutman side of it allow you to kind of be more?
Would it help in terms of your body, like in terms of knowing like the effects of your body?
Yeah,
of course, it'd have to.
Obviously, another, like, I've had conversations with people over different things, right? So if you look at a boxer, okay, and how they mark on the face and everything, right? A boxer's used to getting hit in the face, okay? Whereas if you got to dig straight into the face, you get a thick lip or a bloody nose straight off. Where if I got hit straight in the face, I wouldn't, you know? So let's say I've been away for boxing I took a summer break or something, and I went back into the gym. And this is what has happened to me before. You take a break away from sparring and you come back in, and the next thing is, boom, you get clotted and you get a thick lip.
Yeah.
That's because your skin is no longer, your muscle has stopped being hit.
Yeah,
you know?
You haven't exercised it essentially.
It's a muscle and it's used to reacting.
Yeah.
You know, so it gets soft. So certain parts of your face are used to getting hit. Yeah. So, you know, it's like everything else. We say fast muscle reflexes and all that. You know, guys catch a ball real quick. You know, during life, you slow down a bit. Everything slows down a bit.
Oh,
you know?
I fucking know it. I'm only 31 and I'm slowing down.
Yeah,
it's scary.
I haven't been training, and then I'd get into the ring and I'd say, I'm good, let's go. And to be young fella in the ring, and I'd
soon found out.
Boom, I get 1 or 2 slaps and I'm going, not so good anymore, you know. Yeah. The reflexes aren't there, you know.
It's good that you are staying in shape though when you're still getting into the ring, you know, because, I mean, obviously it's good to build these relationships as well if you can fucking mess around with one of the fighters and that. But what is it like travelling with, you have 3 kids, is that correct? Yes. 2 girls and a boy.
Yeah.
So what is it like for them? Like, what's the longest you've travelled for? And like, do they be like, oh look, there's my daddy on the telly? Like, is it?
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming, like, when I was younger, if I seen my dad on the telly, I remember my brother was on the telly for a school lad or something, and I was like, oh, there's Robbie, you know what I mean? But you're on the telly a lot, I'm assuming, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
well,
what?
Like that, when we've travelled to, we just say Sky Sports, you know, I had a couple of journeys over there, and the kids, would be watching me. With Eric Donovan and Paddy Hoyland, And any time like that, they'd be obviously rooting for whoever I'm with.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Most times, like Paddy Hoyland now is a family friend. Like he's married
Right.
to my sister's, or my wife, sorry, my wife's niece.
That's a bit of a difference, isn't it?
My wife's niece. And like so, and I've known Paddy all my life as well, through boxing as well, you know.
Right.
But,
So I'd say that's good as well, getting to experience all this together as well, and coming home and telling the family stories and stuff. Yeah.
They'd be like when we went to Eddie Ahern's back garden last with Eric Donovan because it was during COVID.
Yeah.
We had tests beforehand. We had to be in the hotel quarantine.
That was mad, wasn't it? That whole thing.
You know, yeah.
It was a
you
good
weren't
event
allowed-
though.
Yeah.
Yeah, you weren't
Still do
allowed
them.
to travel anywhere, you know. The hotel was all quarantined off from other guests.
Is it really his back garden?
No, it's actually his estate.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not his back garden at all. So
Right.
the
Is it-
house
that's
that he
some
works
flex.
in is in his estate where they work out from.
Okay.
And
Right.
they set up this whole the ring in the back.
Mhm.
And it's just
The
left.
fight
It was
camp,
left
wasn't
up there. Yeah, it was left up there for the X amount of months that was going. He was having them every 2 weeks or every once a month. Then it kind of went to.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was again another mad experience because you were arriving up, you were going through quarantine experiences. You had to walk through, getting all tested again, and then you were brought into your hub area, the size of this room,
Yeah.
and this is where you stayed.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
wrapped hands, you got warmed up, and then somebody come for you, bring you to the ring, and then bring you back. And as soon as you finished,
Very well
back
organised. Yeah.
again on the bus, back into your hotel.
Mm-hmm.
So it was all, you weren't interacting really. We interacted within ourselves because we were all tested.
Yeah.
And passed, you know, so we were all negative, you know.
Mm.
So we could interact with ourselves. But yeah, it was confined to rooms and, you know, you say, I want to go out for a walk.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was the back garden. You went out and you walked around the back of the hotel.
Yeah.
And that was all quarantined off and stuff
Yeah,
like that,
yeah.
you know. There was a small little gym there. You know, you got to do whatever you wanted to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was quite different than your normal
Yeah, of course, yeah.
competition, because when you arrive out in a big area where you might have, we say, a fairly large room where you'd have maybe 6 or 7 fighters all getting ready for their fight one after another, and you're watching fellas doing pad work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's other cutmen there, there's other coaches there. We all talk to each other, you know.
Yeah.
So, but with COVID, it's just all you're kept to your team, you know.
Come here, answer me this. We'll just go back for a second. Did your woman say yeah to your man who got beat in Russia?
Oh yes, she said yeah. But there's another part of that story we didn't finish.
Go on.
She said yeah, and then the promoter came up and he was talking away to them on the microphone, and the next thing he said was Toyota Corolla. So he gave them a free Toyota Corolla. He gave them a free Toyota Corolla.
That's when you know
Anybody-
you're winning.
Yeah.
Anybody that was on that fight, or that was fighting for that particular company at the time, it was the best knockout was $10,000. The quickest knockout was $10,000.
Deadly.
The best fight was $10,000. So anything was all money. So
Yeah.
these guys were hungry to win.
Yeah,
Get in,
yeah,
get them
yeah,
knocked
yeah.
out. get
Obviously,
the
for
quickest
a
knockout.
smaller card, though, do you know what I mean? So, like, if you can imagine, I remember the UFC used to do a thing like that where their post-fight bonuses used to be mental. Like, you talk back in George St. Pierre's prime, maybe, the bonuses then would be like 100k for fight tonight, 150k for knockout tonight, and 100k for submission tonight. Whereas now they just do 50k.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then 10k, so it just shows, like, if people are hungry for that 10k,
Yeah.
it just shows the difference in levels of combat sports, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, again, that makes them hungry, you know. That keeps them there.
Especially
you know?
in Russia, as you were
Yeah.
saying, like they're different animals. Like
Yeah.
they're crazy.
Guys going around in top sports cars and everything. They were all on the payroll. They
Yeah,
were the good fighters, you know.
yeah,
And the young guys coming up, and you could see them. It was just like they were a different breed altogether.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, they were like tigers getting unleashed from a cage. You know.
Speaking of COVID, Dave, 2020, I seen was a hard year for yourself. You lost your mother. Apologies for that. I'm sorry to hear that. But that on top of obviously not being able to to do what you do.
Stay busy.
Stay busy, yeah. Like, how, like, was your mother's death down to COVID, or was that natural causes?
No, Alzheimer's, just took time and our body just shut down, but it was nothing got to do with COVID.
Right, thank God. But obviously I'm assuming that made it harder then, not being able to do what you do. Even the simple things like not being able to go for a jog. You're a fit man, I'm assuming the gym would have helped out with that. So how difficult was that time for you?
Yeah, well, leading up to me mother's death, like, it was, she became sick when we all got a call basically to turn up to the home,
Right.
And for the 5 days, she was just there lying in the bed, and her body was just slowly shutting down.
Yeah.
Alzheimer's is a very harsh disease, and as it goes on, it just slowly shuts down the body, inevitably, until the woman that was my mother was just a frail woman in a bed, But it was a release for her, obviously, to move on,
How old was she? 86, was it?
84.
84. It's a good age, like,
Good age.
She lived a good life, basically.
Yeah. No, I can't imagine that, Dave. Like, the thought of losing someone. I luckily enough, and I know it's not a really nice thing to say, but I'm delighted I lost my auntie before COVID, because we got to experience the funeral, and everything was kind of. It was just before COVID restrictions came in, and a good friend of mine, one of my best friends, actually lost his nanny and granddad during COVID, and it was just a fucking shambles. Like, was it the same for you ourselves?
Yeah, when we went to the funeral, we had the funeral, and Massey's in Clondalkin were very good. They didn't restrict numbers coming into the
just pull that mic in a little bit closer.
They didn't restrict the people coming into the funerals, or into the wish of respects to my father and the rest of the family,
Right.
And they that was good for them. But unfortunately, when we got to the church, there was only a certain amount of numbers allowed in the church.
Yeah. It's such a shame, isn't it?
A lot of people were left outside, my father's brothers and sisters, and that my own mother's brothers and sisters have passed away. There's only one in Australia, so she didn't travel.
She couldn't make it. Obviously,
no.
that's them things are really hard, aren't they? You know what I mean? Not being able to travel to your own sister's funeral, like, I can't imagine that. And how's your dad holding up now? Was he?
Yeah, well, like that was my father. That was in November. My father only got to visit my mother's grave last week.
Fucking hell!
Since the funeral, because he wasn't allowed out from the home. Although he had his 2 jabs, there was still restrictions. The health restrictions weren't allowing people to go out. I'm
assuming your father is older as well, is he?
He's 90 years of age,
yeah. So, I mean, it's very scary. Like, he needs his jabs, I'm sure that they're doing it for the right reasons, you know.
They didn't want anybody bringing back anything into the home, and offsetting everything, all the good stuff that they were after doing,
Yeah.
So he did get to my mother's grave, and anyway, Sunday, week ago. And unfortunately now, it's just another day for him. His wife is gone. They've been together all their life.
Yeah, it's hard. Like that in itself will kill someone. Like I said, one of my best friends, his I can't really recall which one went first, but it wasn't long after the other one left, and it's because of that. Because of the separation, the heartbroken. I don't care what people say. You can die with a broken heart, 100%.
I thought my granddad was going to. When my nanny died, my granddad just wasn't with it. And then I remember he had a fall, and then he had like a bleed on the brain. And then a couple of months later, he was diagnosed with like lung cancer. He had to remove a lung. But because he was a smoker, he had to, one of his lungs was bad because of obviously the smoking. And then you had to remove the other one because of the tumour. But like the tumour was on his good lung, so they had to remove that, and he was with the bad one. And I thought that was going to be the same thing, but thankfully he's doing alright. But I thought, like, I agree. I said the same thing. I thought heartbreak was going to probably take my granddad, but fucking knock on wood, everything's all good. And I'm sorry to hear about that. It's because as you said, like the story that you said about your mother lying in the bed, like the same thing happened to my other grandmother. I held her hand as she passed away. So it's just kind of, as you were saying, it was triggering things in my own mind. You know what I mean? It's it's life's too short, man. It really is.
Yeah, COVID is at the throwing a novel, swinging a lot of things. You know, whether we're talking about death at the moment. You know, my wife's father died on the 26th of December. You know,
Jesus Christ.
So big family. They didn't get to celebrate his life either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this Sunday on Father's Day, we're going to celebrate it down in the brother-in-law's house. You know.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
you know, that kind of way. And he was again like that. He was a strong family man as well, you know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a big loss to the family.
Yeah, it really is a shame that you can't fucking do anything. But look, all we can do is what we can do. You know what I mean? So I hope you fucking have a ball on Father's Day. And fucking, will you be going to, did you say your dad's in a home now?
My dad's up in Newcastle there.
Right.
And he's, how many years is he there? He's about 2 years now, I think, maybe 3 years. My mother was in there a long time before that. Like my mother, because of Alzheimer's, like she was going back and forth through time and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And then it was just a total switch off then, you know. So maybe about 3 years ago she was gone.
Right.
It was only a carcass of a woman that was there, you know.
Right. Yeah,
which made things a little bit easier, but it still wasn't nice when it happens, you know.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
You know.
Look, she's a big part of your life, you know what I mean? It's without her you wouldn't be here. You owe her and your father everything, you know.
Yeah.
So to see that person deteriorate and become someone that they're not is hard, you know.
Itself, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, just the people that looked after me mother and me father up there in Peamount, you know, they do such a good job up there, you know.
And that's actually another thing I wanted to touch on, because I absolutely love this post. I had to take a screenshot of it. So basically I shared this picture of the real fighters, which is the nurse.
Can you zoom in on that?
With the mask. I'll try and you can see it grand there actually. So Dave shared this picture saying the real fighters, and I really like that picture. I really resonated with me. Like I said, I mean, I had sick members in the hospital during, family members in the hospital during that time as well, and it is that our own son heroes, and the fact that they were potentially getting cut was a fucking joke in my opinion, you know. But yeah, so I suppose I just wanted to touch on that, Dave, because obviously COVID has been fucking horrible to a lot of people, and I'm hoping someone can resonate with your story, and probably this conversation will help them a little bit, you know. Kind of understand that they're not alone, that other people have lost people during this time, and the ideas, like you said, hopefully gives one of the viewers an idea to maybe celebrate Father's Day with your granddad or your father if you haven't seen them in a while, and things like that. But moving on, Dave, a few more questions, I suppose. Do you ever wish you started younger? Like, if you could start sooner, would you have?
Start sooner to be a cutman?
Yeah.
No, it's just the timing of it was right. Like it's like if you take Cutman for instance, you know, it's not everybody wants to be a Cutman. You know, it
until this podcast goes out,
it doesn't fall in your lap all the time. You know?
Yeah.
You know, boxing and MMA is not as frequent as it used to be, you know. So it's not something that you can't say, yeah, you know, I wouldn't mind being a Cutman, you know. Like people used to say, what's a Cutman? What's a Cutman do, you know?
Yeah.
You know, I've got a minute to get you right and get you back out there, basically in a nutshell, you know.
Yeah.
But it's first aid at its finest, you know. When we started off, I'll just bring it down the road a bit. When we started off, or when I started off being a cutman, Joe Clifford obviously was a cutman a couple of years before me, and started a foundation and an institution of people to try and be certified cutmen or have a level that could be appreciated throughout all fighters, you know, because there's a lot of cutmen out there that are doing top fighters that, let me tell you, I wouldn't let near me worst enemy, you know.
Yeah.
You see bad hygiene, you see bad implementing of products, you know, how to look after swelling and, these people are looking after champions, world champions,
Yeah.
and they're going in like with a towel, and they think they're gonna save the world
magic
with the
water.
magic towel.
Yeah.
There's a
Magic
lot more
water from
to it.
football, yeah.
There's a lot more to it than that, And these
Yeah.
people are at a high level. How did you get at that high level? I honestly don't know.
Mm.
I'd love to get that route.
Yeah.
Come
here. How do you deal with a fighter who has really bad scar tissue? So, for example, I watched the UFC Saturday night, and Nate Diaz, like, I think if like you like blow wind at Nate Diaz, he bleeds. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Do you ever go into a fight like with a fighter and say, right, I'm gonna have my work cut out for me because they have really bad scar tissue? And how do you cope with it?
Well, the main product that you have going into a fight, which is very good, is a bag of ice.
Mm-hmm.
Right? A bag of ice is worth all its weight in gold. If you know that somebody like Nate Diaz has a scar tissue, and you're watching, he's getting an elbow, he's got to mark in that area. You need to get on that.
Yeah.
You need to get on that fast. Using an iron, is not good enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because an iron is a flat surface, or maybe a curved surface, or circular, or whatever contour line it is, but it doesn't contour your face.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's only going to get you in pieces. A bag of ice is going to sit right over your eye. A bag of ice is going to get buried into your eye. Okay, and it's going to get into that tissue and the soft tissue at the top of the eye, or whatever the case may be. You can get that ice, and it'll do a job on your ear. It'll form the ear. Whereas an iron only hits on one spot of a curved surface. So an iron is not good.
Yeah.
A bag of ice is worth its weight in gold. Pressure is the second thing. So you apply a bag of ice with pressure. Okay. What happens to a vein when it cuts? Endorphins get released, and coagulation is going to happen. So what you want to do is, you have a big open wound. You need to let the coagulation happen quickly. So in order to do that, you have certain products that you use. Most cutmen use a thing called adrenaline. Adrenaline is a drug. Okay,
I'll believe it.
That I get prescribed. So if I'm a cut man, I go to the doctor and say, "Hey doc, give us a bit of adrenaline there. Will you? I'm fighting at the weekend. There you go. There's some adrenaline for you."
Do you get it through a needle or tablet or?
It comes in during I think they're 100 mils, 10 mil vials, and you get a prescription for it. You pay for it over the counter.
Yeah.
Okay, and I give it to you.
Right.
Okay, so if I had a lot of tablets and I handed you the tablets, I told you, take one of them. It's got to stop you bleeding. Would you take one?
I'd be curious.
Okay, then why let me put adrenaline into your body?
Yeah. Okay. Right.
So fighters just automatically allow cutmen, women do, so they can survive onto the fight.
Yeah, I get you.
Okay. Certain videos could show certain fighters putting adrenaline straight on the tongue and breathing adrenaline into their nose to bring their heart rate up, to get them ready before they get into the ring.
Yeah.
That's what adrenaline does to you. It saves lives when paramedics come along and inject it into your heart to get your rhythms stable again. If you have anaphylactic shock, you get adrenaline in a pen to help you stabilize your shock. Okay?
Yeah.
What it does to a vein, it shortens down the vein, narrows a vein down to allow to stop the blood flow. Again, it's a drug.
Yeah.
Every cut man uses it. I don't use it.
You don't?
I don't use it.
Hold on for a minute. That whole little thing there just fucked me up. I thought you were talking about adrenaline for a minute, and then I'm thinking, is this an actual drug he's talking about? I was confused as fuck. Completely
FYI,
lost.
it doesn't take much to confuse. Yeah,
No, I was completely lost. But come here, Dave, on the whole other cutmen and you obviously holding yourself at a high standard, right? I always look at things in a kind of business light at times and see, like, I heard you say earlier that there wasn't great money in cutmen. Would you not be qualified enough now to go on and, let's say, create a website and hold your own courses? Like, is that not a path that you could take down now that obviously, like, let's face it, right? You're 51, you're in great shape, right? So I'm not disrespecting you, but being a mechanic is a lot on the body.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Would you not look to maybe try train people into being a cutman and try and look at different avenues of revenue for yourself?
First of all, yeah, it's Joe Clifford has already done that and is doing that with webinars and everything. Okay,
Right, I didn't know.
He has that area corner sealed off, and he has gone to Olympic bodies, world bodies, and give them a set standard to try and bring everybody to. Okay, as far as cut men and cut women go, anybody can be a cut man or cut woman. You just buy a boxing license, and next thing is, you're standing there with Vaseline and end swell, and I'm gonna help you wrap hands and whatever. Anybody can do that.
Yeah,
you know, it's up to the individual to pick who he uses. Fighters don't get paid a lot of money. They kind of attach themselves to certain people.
Yeah.
So let's say, for argument's sake, one of the Irish fighters is travelling to, we just say America, okay? So he's travelling to America. So he will get, it depends on what level he's at, first of all. So let's take him as being under 10 rounds. So he's allowed to bring one coach with him, one fighter, or maybe two coaches and himself on his purse. So that means he can bring a coach and a cut man, or two coaches. Mm-hmm. Or him and his girlfriend if he wants to.
Yeah.
That's basically it.
Mike Perry done that, didn't he, recently?
So when he gets there, he hires a cut man. So
yeah, okay.
He gets there and he goes to the local cut man that's doing the show. He says, hey, will you wrap me hands in that? I'll give you $100. You know? Whereas if he brings me over, he's to pay for me. He's me flights, accommodations, all that. You know? Although the promoter is paying that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's money coming out of his purse.
Yeah, understood.
He then has the option. Obviously, if he brings me over, he knows where he's getting. He knows what's got to be in his corner. But he doesn't know. He brings Joe Bloggs over there and he gives him $100. He doesn't know who he is or how good is he going to look after him. You know.
Yeah.
So
come here.
But fighters will do that in order to save himself money.
Yeah, I understand.
I imagine so. Yeah.
Come here, right? So Dave, I'm gonna switch it up a little bit because, as you said, you're a boxing fan. You started since the age of 6. So I want your opinion on something, and it's been a very hot topic in this studio for many weeks now. YouTube boxing. These little posers coming in and fighting Floyd Mayweather, you know, fighting MMA fighters. What's your opinion on it?
Well, you seen what happened last week, you know. Like, Floyd Mayweather is the businessman, you know. He made himself 100-something million in bringing a YouTuber 8 rounds. Yeah. That's what he did. He could have finished them in one.
I said the exact same thing.
He could have finished them in one, but he didn't. Because there was more money in it for him.
Yeah.
To bring
he would have still made the same amount of money if he finished them in one, though.
No, but he can potentially make more money because more YouTubers might want to fight him.
Think they have a chance,
you know? Why would you just turn around and he go and knock out that YouTuber in one round?
No, would a YouTuber?
The next YouTuber won't be saying, I want Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah.
You know, they'll be saying, I want somebody.
That's a very valid point, you know? Yeah, but like I said, I suppose we'll see now if he does accept the whole, if he does fight Jake Paul.
Yeah, well, if Jake Paul beats Turin Woodley, I'm pretty sure Jake Paul's going to call him out.
Yeah. I'm hoping that happens. But so you genuine, like, how do you think Logan Paul done? Did you see the fight?
No, I wouldn't even watch it.
Right.
I wouldn't even watch it. Right. No. I seen a few bits on Instagram and what's going. You know, it's.
So how do you know you could have knocked him out in one? You're just going off his reputation then.
Of course, yeah. Like
you don't go 50-0.
He was double the man in size. Okay, but that made no difference. You know.
Yeah, but
that makes no difference.
Look,
you know,
I respect that you know your stuff, but I will deny it to the ground that you can sit there and say that you could have knocked him out in one and not watch the fight.
Well, it's like
hold on. Sorry, Dave. I'm just gonna cut you right here for a second, right? Because this fella's 0-1, right? His first pro fight, he lost to a fellow YouTuber.
Yeah.
He fought against a pro boxer who hasn't lost in 50 bouts. And I said it to you. I said, I gave him credit, but Floyd carried him.
Right, well, what did Floyd say, though? Floyd wouldn't say he was better than what he thought if it was that easy.
Floyd's a fucking promoter himself. He knows how to say the right things. That was a PR statement.
I disagree. I do disagree.
So Logan Paul basically said after the fight, he's like, I have to go watch it back, and I need to see if Floyd let me go the 8 rounds. You know what I mean?
Because obviously he's curious. He's shocked himself that he went the 8 rounds. But you can't say he didn't put up, like...
So you can see at one stage that he was gone and Floyd Mayweather held him up. But yeah, he turned around and says, no, I wasn't gone.
Yeah, I've seen that bit, yeah.
You know? So,
yeah, I've seen him deny it, yeah.
Yeah.
He caught him a nice right hand. I will say this, like, he caught Floyd with a 1-2 in, like, the second round, and that was it. But, no, he carried it.
So what's your thought on the McGregor and Floyd fight? Do you think that's the very same?
It has to be a little bit more respectable considering they're combat athletes, no?
Yeah, definitely. With McGregor's more combat experience than our local YouTuber, you know, or white collar boxer as I would call him, you know, because he's no way a professional fighter.
Yeah, no, 100%. I agree with that.
McGregor is a professional fighter.
Yeah.
Okay, he can hold his own to a certain level.
You're loving this, aren't you?
Floyd Mayweather stopped him in the 8th round. I think it could have been stopped a little bit earlier.
Yeah, so do I.
But, you know, not taking anything away from McGregor. He's a very good businessman as well. And that's what it all was.
And I also thought he held a good account of himself in that fight. He didn't embarrass himself or MMA.
He didn't embarrass himself. I just wish he was fitter. If he was fitter, like...
I agree with Conor when he said, like, he just wasn't prepared for Floyd to switch up his style. Floyd came in and had 3 different stances in that fight. He went, like, the Philly shell or the Philly roll, whatever he calls it. And then he went to traditional boxer, and then he went Mexican style, hands up and going forward.
Okay, so Floyd was actually questioned, would you accept McGregor too, during the whole build-up of Logan, and he said yeah. So what do you think the outcome of that fight would be? Do you think he'd do a lot better? Do you think he'd win?
I think Floyd will win.
You think Floyd would win again? And yourself, obviously, the same?
I think it will, yeah. You know, the talk of Floyd Mayweather stepping into an MMA cage, you know, was put out there as well.
Not a chance.
You know, it's all talk.
It's
all talk. Like, McGregor did such a brilliant thing, wherever it was, 4 years ago when it all started. He said that he was going to fight Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah.
Total throwing a stone into a pool to see what ripples it would, and it just took legs and walked. And that was great promotion.
He sold that fight by himself. Floyd done nothing to sell that fight. That was all Conor.
Floyd was Floyd. That's all Floyd needs to do, though.
He doesn't need to be a lot. Yeah, because he is the best.
He is. Do you think he's the greatest of all time?
He might have avoided fights. He might have taken fights at a different time.
Yeah,
but that's all. That adds to him, I think.
But that's again everybody's controversial things about him, you know. Yeah. And he's a businessman. Let's be right. It's the money man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He knows exactly what he's doing.
Yeah.
And whether it be a basketball match or whether it be a boxing match, he knows where his money's going and what he's got to win on. You know, he's not putting his money down for nothing.
Is he the greatest of all time?
You know, there's been exciting fights, you know, in his way and other people's way. But is he the greatest of all time? I don't know.
I think you have to give it to him.
I personally think he is. Now I know,
when you think of boxing as a sport,
you can say was he the greatest of all time. No, Ali was the greatest of all time. But when you're not involved in it, he's involved in your era, you know, of boxing.
Yeah,
my era of boxing was
Ali
different.
lost,
you know?
though. How can you be
Anderson Silva was known as the greatest of all time in MMA. He's lost 6, 7, 8, 9 times. You know what I mean?
You know, you had Sugar Ray Leonard, you had, Marvelous Marvin Hagler. You know, they were great fights. They were great fighters of the time.
Who's your favourite boxer?
One of them, Marvelous Marvin and Sugar Ray Leonard. Yeah. Definitely going back and, you know, great showmen, you know, like the Eubanks and the Prince Nassim. Like, they were some walkouts, you know. They were spectacular, you know. They were that was Sky starting time, you know. They gave money and they gave promotion to them. I was lucky enough to be down in Cork when Steve Collins bet Eubank, you know.
No way.
Right.
And Eubank came out on a Harley Davidson. And it was up in the top corner, right?
Yeah.
And he was on the Harley Davidson, and he revving the Harley Davidson, and the fireworks were going off inside the building. It was electric, you know. And where we were sitting, there was an Englishman not too far from us,
Right.
and he was riling up the crowd all the
Yeah.
time, and it was brilliant. There's a woman came in to sweep the ring. Maisie came in to sweep the ring out, and she got a round of applause and everything. There was so much crack going on.
Everything
you
that
know.
happened was just hyped up.
It was
like.
just brilliant, you know.
Yeah.
And the next thing was when Eubank lost, right? When it was all over, the crowd were singing "On Your Bike." On your bike, on your bike.
Was that the famous
Cracker,
hypnotized
Yeah.
one? Yeah,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was mental warfare at its finest. Do you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
about that?
No.
Basically, he convinced Eubanks that he's been hypnotized, that he can't be beat by him,
Right.
and it mentally
deadly.
fucked with Eubanks.
But this comes to
What we talked about last
what we
night.
talked about last night. So I'd love your opinion on this, Dave. Right? So, Poirier and McGregor. Obviously, the first fight, Conor, easy work.
Walked away. Right?
Second fight, completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what do you put that down to?
Yeah, you know, is it money? You know, I don't really need to do this anymore. You know, did he put enough effort in? Was he as hungry as he was before?
I personally do. I personally think that. No,
I don't
I
think that.
I
at
think
all.
he was embarrassed by Khabib, and I don't think he wanted that to be his lasting impression in MMA.
He definitely didn't. I agree slightly. He definitely didn't put as much work in my opinion. From what I seen, you know the way, like we're limited to what we can see, but from what we did see, he didn't look like he wanted it that much.
He didn't have the speed or the movement that he used to have. You know.
Here's one for you though. He came in a traditional boxer's approach to that fight, whereas McGregor was always kind of side on the toes, in and out. And because Poirier was a southpaw and McGregor was kind of teeing up the Pacquiao fight for the end of this year, or for the end of this year, he came in as the boxer's approach, and Poirier kicked the legs off him and chopped down the legs and knocked him out up top. Like, do you know what I mean? That was the thing. You put it down. No, go
sorry,
on.
I thought you were finished. I put it down to the mental warfare. I am convinced that Conor would have beat him had he continued doing what he was doing mentally, as in his head. Because I genuinely believe half of Conor's opponents are beat before they even enter the octagon.
Yeah.
And I truly, even with why can't I think of his name?
Where he's trying.
Aldo?
He's
Jose
trying
Aldo.
his different approach to be a more people person, like. You know?
And look how it's gone. Do you know what I mean? I think Jose Aldo, I don't think Conor beats him if the mental warfare wasn't there.
No, I do. I think Conor beats him.
I
I think Conor's
truly
ability
don't.
alone beats him. I just don't think Aldo would have been as riled up, and
You think
if
it
that
would have
if
been a
that
better fight
if
at
that
least?
was well, it definitely would have been a longer fight. It would have been
Yeah.
more respectful between the two of them.
Mm.
Conor doesn't do respectful, you know. Well, the old Conor didn't,
Yeah.
you know.
But the kids as well, you know, having kids does change it, as you know, lads.
It does,
you know,
but
so-
again, also Khabib, like when that happens, like, you know, where you.
Well, Khabib is just a better fighter.
But that
It's
was
as
the
simple
dark.
as that.
Yeah, I know that, but that was like a really dark build
Time
up.
for him
Them
as well.
press-
yeah,
he was
Dark
going.
time for him as well. You
Yeah,
know?
he wasn't himself. Do you know what I mean? He was fucking up in his personal life and, you know, getting locked up in how many times. But then, like, the build up, the promotion to that fight was dark. Throwing the dolly through the bus, the stuff that they were saying to each other in the press conferences was outrageous. It was entertaining, but it was outrageous. And then Khabib goes and does it and gets the last laugh. Do you know how I knew Khabib was going to win that night?
Because a better fighter.
No, well, obviously, no, but like, I genuinely thought Conor had a chance to beat him.
Oh, no, of course he
I
did.
seen Khabib get rocked by Michael Johnson with a left hand, and I was like, if Michael Johnson can do it, fucking Conor McGregor can put his lights out. But I'll never forget, right? And this is just a weird thing with me. When McGregor was walking to the cage, his hair was bone dry, his skin was bone dry, and he was walking to the cage. He literally looked like he got out of bed, and I was like, he barely warmed up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He just didn't look like he just showed up, got his hands wrapped, and I'm going in to punch this fella around. The emotional side of it, whereas McGregor's never emotional. That was it. That was the tell for me. He walked to the cage and I was like, Khabib has him.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck, Khabib has him. It's mad, them little tells, like.
Yeah.
Another question I had, and Dave, I just want to clarify. Me looking at my phone every 2 minutes is actually the Evernote of the questions we have for yourself. I'm not being disrespectful. Empire Pro Tape, have you got a partnership with them, or you just...
Empire Pro Tape is a company, an English company that came on board probably about, I'd say the guts of maybe 8 years ago. And it's like the tape I was telling you about what we started with.
It's just another level.
They're just a level. That's a professional level of tape, of bandages, strength. When the tape gets wet, holding its strength is another particular, benefit of it. Like they have put time and effort in, with Cutman and boxers.
Yeah,
and they've made a good product.
And would they ever send you free stuff or anything like that? Because I seen your profile, like you do promote them a lot, like.
Yeah, well, you have to, because it is such a good product, it's I scratch your back, you scratch mine kind of thing, So what goes around comes around, and I'm fair like that. And I like to say, the company that I'm using, I'm happy with them, and I do get free gifts, But you still, at the end of the day, they're a business, They have to make money,
Where do you see yourself in 5 years from now, Dave? Do you see yourself still in the corner?
Win the lotto, and I'd still love to be involved in boxing. Definitely, boxing's in my life. I started boxing when I was young. I gave it up for a period of time. I still was drawn back to it. I'm still there.
Yeah, it's just the love of the sport.
As a cutman, I can still be involved in the adrenaline. I can still be involved right beside a ring, a cage, wherever it may be, but yet not be. I'm still independent of the team,
Yeah.
I don't have to put the time and effort in, as a fighter, as a coach, to put the hours in that these guys put in, but I can help them on that journey to get there,
Yeah.
And it's
your way of being involved in the sport, basically. One of my last questions, Dave, is what's your proudest moment so far? What's your biggest achievement?
Proudest moment and biggest achievements, in fighting or in life,
In life, we'll go in life first.
Oh, obviously the birth of my children, it's
He's
wowzers.
done it. He's gone and done it.
I don't think we've had a guest that hasn't, to be fair.
We've done it with every
it's a
guest.
wow
And that's
factor,
the,
you can't get away from that. That's just a blow you out of the water situation,
100%, we asked every guest that, and we're just waiting on that one. I'm dying to see what our reaction is going to be like when someone actually
when I bought me new motorbike last week.
Do you know the best one I heard, right? And Paddy Houlihan gave the same answer, to be fair, but I remember when Paddy Houlihan won in the 3 Arena, Conor McGregor main evented against Diego Brandao for the UFC.
Ashland Daly fought in that fight, and that fucking In Your Head zombie song. My God, I'll never forget that. That was
no, she fought in the Louis Smoker one. That Paddy fought. No, because she wasn't in the UFC yet. I don't mean to kind of cut over you there. You know what I mean? But
no, I cut across you.
No, I don't.
You shouldn't have made a show me.
But that's what I meant. I shouldn't have made a show you, but it feels good. No, because I remember Paddy was the very first fight that night. Where was I going with that? Oh yeah, so he won his fight, and Ariel Helwani asked him. He's like, "Is this the best night of your life? Oh, is this the best? Yeah, the best time of your life?" And he's like, "No." And Ariel was just like, "What the fuck? You just fought in the UFC in your home country and you won. The crowd went crazy." He's like, "It's none compared to my kids being born." So no,
I think
never
I remember that. Yeah.
That's me. It is. It's if you're a father, no matter what you do.
If you're a loving father.
Yeah, your children are your greatest achievement. Yeah. So you passed the test well done.
You definitely passed the test, and I'm delighted you did. So work-wise, kind of, what would be your biggest achievement?
Obviously, Madison Square Garden it's a big achievement. Russia again, another big achievement. Like helping people getting to where they need to be. Guys that win All-Ireland titles, guys that fight for world titles. We stood in Leeds. Was it Leeds? I can't think, Sheffield somewhere. Paddy Hoyland's last fight, and he walks into Punisher. I think it is AC/DC Punisher, is that
Yeah,
is
I
it?
think so. Yeah,
And he
yeah.
walks into that song,
Yeah.
and the place was an uproar, you know.
Yeah.
And the Leeds fans follow what you call it, Paddy's opponent. I can't think of his name now at the moment. Give me a second. And they go berserk, and there was people putting on raincoats, and they were going, "What's going on here?" Because they throw their points
No
all
way.
over the place. Yeah, they go berserk. And Paddy was coming in then to punish her, and they put him on a conveyor belt, where he just stood, and he was just brought into the ring on a conveyor belt, and the Punisher song was gone. It was just, you know,
Class.
just amazing, and then the stand in Madison Square Garden and the Irish national anthem being played, you know, that's just another proud moment.
That's
know?
goosebumps, isn't it?
Oh, it's just there. You know?
Would that have been the moment, like, geez, I'm fucking doing something here?
You know, I'm here. You know, yeah. You know, it's great. It's great. You know, when you're here is when you have your Cutman kit and you're walking into the arena. You know, the fighters are there. I'm at the back.
Yeah.
I'm at the back and I'm walking in, you know. But I might be only this size. He might be
but
that
it's
size.
still the feeling
I'm
is still
here at the back, you know. I'm still here at the back with my bag, you know, and I'm going, yeah, this is good. This is good, you know.
But tell me this, because I've been in a couple of scenarios where, for example, one of my best mates, he managed Longford. And it's only it's a big deal in my opinion for him. He managed Longford under 19.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was the kit man. Now, why Kit
I didn't
Man?
know you were the
I was the kit man for Sparky, yeah. Now, a lot of people liked me for that. But I was doing it more so to support my friend. And I wanted to see him achieving something. That was why I done it. I love him very much. He's a very good friend of mine. And seeing him doing what he does was very... I got a very good feeling out of it, you know what I mean? It was
proud.
What's the word I'm looking for? It was a very proud moment every time I watched him do his thing.
And he's a very, 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 very good coach.
Yeah.
Like, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, no, he is.
His knowledge on the game is unbelievable.
But like that, when we were walking out for the games, small games or big games, we're in a stadium, we're in a good establishment, you know. And sometimes I do think, I wouldn't mind fucking being the manager. I wouldn't mind getting involved here. Or there was other scenarios where I was involved in big events, like Joe Doyle, for example. He held a big event in the Clarion and he was on stage talking, and I kind of was like, geez, I'd love to be up there myself. Do you know what I mean? Do you ever get that where you're kind of like, I'm assuming it'd be very easy for you to say, right, just pretend it's me and I'm the fighter walking out, you know what I mean? Do you ever get
like
any
the
of
eyes
them?
are on you, like,
do you know what I mean? Do you ever try and
Yeah.
manipulate yourself to just think for a moment, oh, imagine this is all for me, like.
Yeah, no, it's as I said earlier, you know, you just go with the flow, you know, you sit back and it's the fighter's time, you know.
All the time though, is there never been one moment where you've like
I've been like Tracy Patterson was one of Paddy's coaches, you know.
Yeah.
A great fighter, his father before him, Floyd Patterson, you know. And these people, you're surrounded by these people. Other ex-world champions come into a room to you, you know. You're humble just to be there.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
You're humble just to be there, rather
yeah.
than, you know, I'm not one to fucking throw the towel around my shoulder and I make sure I'm seen here, you know. You know, or you know.
No, I don't really mean it like that. Like I said, I was very happy and I was very proud for Sparky, and I was delighted to be there for him. But there was the odd moment where I was like, I'd love to do this myself.
I know what you're saying, and that's the other thing. I think what Jay's trying to say is, like, do you ever have, because obviously you boxed as well. So did you ever have that moment where you were like, that was me? Do you know what I mean? Like, having that feeling as opposed to being on the other side of the ring.
Yeah, no, I have that feeling all the time when I go in, you know. You have that
I do it every
feeling,
time I shadow box in my fucking sim room, I do.
Yeah, no, I do feel everything that the fighter feels, you know, and I do feel like, oh, this is great moments in time, you know, whether it'll be in the National Stadium or the Tree Arena or whatever event I'm covering. You do get caught up in the moments, yes, you do, but again, it's, I don't know what you want to call it, your professional side or not, you know, but it's, you're there in everything, you know, you're there in light, you're there in glamour, you know, and I don't think, there's cameras on me. I don't be thinking, right, I'm on the wrong side here. I'm not getting viewed, you know. None of that.
Yeah.
I'm there when I'm there, you know, or I'm not there.
I've one last question for you, Jay. If you've some more to add, no problem.
I've one final one myself.
What's the mood like? Right. So obviously, when a fighter loses, you feel it as well. You feel it when he wins, also. If a fighter loses to a cut or an injury, do you ever have moments you're like,
That's a good question.
of course it is, has it? Only messing. No, but do you ever get that feeling where you're like, bollocks? Do you know what I mean?
Yes and no, right? Because a cut can work in various ways, right? So you're looking after a fighter, and we say, for argument's sake, I'd be very strict on myself in the sense that the fighter gets cut, and I go in to do my job, and I send them back out, and within 30 seconds, it's just as bad.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that to me is I haven't done my job.
Yeah.
Right? So, if the fighter goes out and comes back after 2 minutes, I've done my job.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, I'd be hard on myself that way.
I can see where you're coming from, yeah.
You know? I'd be hard on myself that way. Now, if a fighter got stopped because of a cut, there's certain aspects that can reflect on that. It wouldn't necessarily be because of a bad cutman, although I've seen fights being stopped over bad cutmen.
Yeah.
But they usually have, we just say, got a butt of heads earlier in the fight.
Yeah.
So the referee has acknowledged that there has been a butt of heads, and the cutman hasn't looked after the cut correctly, and the cut has closed the eye, made it worse, made the vision impaired in some shape or form. I put that down to a bad cutman.
Yeah.
You know, the fighter could still win the fight or lose it.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
Or lose it.
Do you remember the Tyson Fury one only a couple of years ago? He got a really bad cut, wasn't it? I can't remember the guy's name. I think it was a Swedish guy or something, or some Scandinavian name or whatever. But he had a really bad cut, didn't he? And
the eye,
that cut man, he done a fantastic job, because, you know, Fury could have lost that fight. Could have went the other way.
Well, if you ask me, I'd say no, he didn't do a good job.
Really?
No.
Because I've seen a lot of people praise that cut man
it was a bad cut,
for keeping Fury in that fight.
And it was a bad cut, but the way he was addressing it, he was like, first of all, the hygiene that he used was incorrect. He had
this is good, actually.
Buds in his mouth. He went in, he put it in Fury's eye and took the blood back out, loads of blood, and put it back in his mouth. Right? He fumbled with Vaseline.
Right, okay. I'm going to have to watch this back.
That was one of the questions I actually had that I forgot to ask, was when you're actually watching boxing, do you actually watch Cutman?
I watched Cutman more so than...
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
When they go on breaks, like, for rounds, and going, damn, when they go on a break?
You want to see the conversation.
Even when a fighter doesn't have any necessarily signs of a swelling or a nosebleed or anything like that, like, you look and see what the Cutman's what's the word I'm looking for? What he does during the rounds, you know, to help the fighter, you know, whether they put a bag of ice on the back of his neck or rub it on his chest, you know. What does he do? Does he just stand there, look at him, put a bit of Vaseline on his face and let him go, you know? Or does he do something worthwhile to keep the fighter? Like, if you put a bag of ice in the back of somebody's neck, it's actually cold flow, not restricting, but cooling the blood flow down to the brain, you know, and then down to the organs, because that's where it's all coming from, you know.
Yeah, of course.
Coming from the back there. So that's what that ice does. So, you know, I'd be looking all the time.
Yeah.
And
that's mad with the Fury one.
I love that you
do that. One of Katie Taylor's fights, the opponent came in with no cutman, okay? Came in with a coach and a girl as a second, right? The girl got cut, and I remember this. Your man was trying to take his jar of adrenaline out from his pocket, trying to get his cut buds out, and trying to get all this before the round. When the bell was sounded,
he didn't have it ready.
Whereas before, a cut man has his kit ready.
Yeah.
You know, I've got me stuff. As I said, I don't use adrenaline. I use a common buy over-the-counter product called Quick Aid. It's hemostatic agents, and anybody can use it.
Right, so these aren't
Anybody
nothing that can pop up in a drug test or nothing like that.
No,
Right.
they're natural. It's seaweed, made out of seaweed. Okay.
Right.
If one of your kids falls and has a nasty cut, you take this out and you put it on the cut, and
Really?
it stops bleeding. You know.
That's mad.
Now
There you go.
it's
Let's
a
buy
tenner
some
a
of that.
strip.
There you go.
You know? It's a tenner a strip, so it ain't cheap. You know.
Yeah.
You know. But anyway, it doesn't affect anything. It doesn't come up in any blood test because it's a natural product.
Yeah.
And it's only a dressing. That's all there is.
Yeah.
But when it comes, when I put my bum on the chair and I'm watching the fight, I have Vaseline ready. I have ice ready. I have me
Just when you're watching the
Kincaid
telly,
ready.
like.
No, when
I'm only
sitting-
joking.
I'm in the corner. I'm getting all this stuff.
I'm gonna be like that now when I'm watching the fight. I'm gonna have me Vaseline and all ready.
Because when you turn around and 30 seconds is getting there,
Yeah.
it's too late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's too late. You need to be ready
100%, yeah.
beforehand, you know?
Yeah.
Because it might only be a minor bleed, but again, it could be a clash of heads. And a guy has a big stitch right in the middle of his head here,
Yeah.
and I put my thumb and I lose it in the middle of his forehead, and I'm just going, oh, you know, this is bad.
Yeah.
And he goes out the next round, and he comes back, and there's only a dribble of blood coming down it.
Job done.
Job done. He goes back out the next round, and you know, it's finished. I did my job.
Yeah, you can pat yourself in the back.
I did
and
my job.
Be proud of what you've done.
My
Yeah.
tongue went into his forehead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was just like, wow.
Does that like, is that like a big thing? Like, let's say, for example, you're in Conor McGregor's corner. My finger was in his forehead.
Like it's a wow factor, because when you turn around and the fighter's in a bad cut, and you go in and you stop it.
Yeah.
You know? And you keep the fighter in the fight, as you said with the Mike Tyson, with Tyson Fury's fight.
Yeah, it's mad that you had a different
Although-
perception, but I
although
never
he-
saw the things you saw.
Although it was done badly, he still kept Tyson Fury in the fight.
Yeah.
And it was a bad cut. It was
Yeah.
a big. It was. I say he had to get stitches inside his eye as well as on the outside. You know, it was a
Yeah.
bad cut. I've seen other cutmen address things differently. You know, and it all adds up.
Yeah.
You know, you bring them things. Like you go onto YouTube and you can see fellas wrapping hands, how to do this way, how to do that way, and you can add that to your little
Arsenal.
Way of doing things.
Yeah.
you know. So when I watch other people addressing cuts, addressing a fighter, you know, I say, yeah, that's good. That's, you know, I'll give that a go, you know.
Yeah.
And sometimes on the night you mightn't think of it, or you might be in the ring. I was like,
Yeah.
I've seen your man doing that before. I'll give that a go next round or something, you know.
Yeah.
And that wasn't for me, and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know.
I get you.
But
Each to their own.
you're always watching, trying to learn, and you know, every day is a learning day. You know,
Course.
you're never the best.
Yeah.
You always want to achieve the best.
You never stop
know?
learning, I suppose.
Yeah.
So Jay just led me into my final question for you,
You're
which
welcome.
was Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua.
Yeah.
What do you make of the whole situation? Like, realistically, it's a fucking shambles. I'm being honest with
Publicity
you.
wise, it was a shambles. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
I just-
everybody knew what was happening in the in promotion background. Knew what was going to happen,
Yeah.
and they just let it manifest.
In terms of the
itself, you know.
Deontay Wilder thing, or
Yeah.
just that the fight wasn't going to happen?
Oh, they knew that about Wilder. They knew that was going to happen. They knew
So
that was in the
Why-
contract.
Why fucking like they could
That's the
have
thing.
they could have ended it though. They could have was it paid them off to
Yeah.
prevent it from happening.
22 million or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, was that how much it was? Fuck.
And allow him to have a fight if Tyson Fury wins as well.
Yeah,
Then you know,
yeah.
There's a lot of one contract is going to happen against the other. Okay, so Tyson Fury and AJ happens. Okay, they have a straight contract to refight again. Okay,
Yeah.
So if Wilder took his money
Yeah.
and didn't fight, got 22 million for doing nothing.
Yeah.
Okay, he'll still want that next fight.
Yeah.
Okay, so he has
True.
to jump in that contract. So there is no number two.
Yeah.
So let's say Wilder comes into the next situation, after whoever won, we just say I think Tyson Fury's got to win. So we say Tyson Fury wins. So it's number 3 trilogy then, Tyson Fury versus Wilder.
Yeah.
Let's say Wilder beats Fury this time.
Which I think is
You
going to
know,
happen.
and they're saying then AJ won't get a shot back at Tyson.
Even though that contractually he's supposed to.
He could, but he won't be a world champion.
Yeah.
But you say to yourself, well, it's not worth it if I lose, so I have to go for the champion, so I have to go against Wilder.
Yeah.
So it opens up a whole avenues just keep opening up all the time if you go that way.
I think Joshua handled the thing brilliantly, and I can't remember word for word, I'm going to paraphrase here, but I remember when he put out the tweet about Tyson Fury, he said, send me a world champion who handles his business correctly.
Yeah.
Cheeky, you sign the contract when you know you're going through this stuff.
Yeah, and I agree with that.
Yeah.
I love Tyson Fury, but I agree with that.
And I personally think, I know we all have different opinions here. You think Wilder's going to be Fury. You think Fury's going to be Joshua. I think Joshua's going to be Fury. I think Joshua beats the two of them.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
Wow.
I do. Look, I know. No, but hold on.
Hearing this, by the way.
But you know what? Tyson Fury is the best boxer out of three of them.
100%.
Deontay Wilder has the most power out of three of them.
Yeah.
Anthony Joshua, I think, is the most technical power puncher out of three of them. Like, Wilder has a right hand that'll fucking kill any man.
Everything you just said.
I think.
You see, with age in the heavyweights, it seems to bring on better fighters. You know,
yeah.
And Anthony Joshua is still young.
But Tyson Fury's not that older than him.
He's 38, is he?
No, Tyson Fury's a lot younger than that.
42 or something.
42,
yeah, he's a nipple like, basically in
Oh, he was older.
Yeah, he looks older. He looks older than you, for fuck's sake. He does, though. He does. But no,
but he's in great shape now. He's in great shape.
Unbelievable.
He's losing more and more weight, you know.
Yeah, it's crazy how fast he can change his body, but what I genuinely think, Jay, you basically, well, Anthony Joshua said it, how exactly I see it, is you should have handled your business. You shouldn't have fucking signed that, knowing that this is going to happen. I think it was very disrespectful to not only Anthony Joshua, but the boxing fans. Do you know what I mean? I was devastated because I'm dying to see that fight. Yeah. I'm dying to see that for years.
This to me is like Mayweather Pacquiao all over again.
Yeah.
Without the...
Yeah, no, it would be,
Without the... Now, see, with the Mayweather Pacquiao, that was Mayweather picking his time.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the case. But it's just a case where fans aren't getting what they want now.
The way I see it, lads, is, right, no matter what happens, right, whether Deontay wins, whether fucking Tyson wins, no matter what, I think the outcome shouldn't matter. If them two really want to fight, they will fucking fight. And they should fight for the fans.
It has to be next. I know Joshua's fighting Usyk next, but whatever. If Fury beats Wilder...
But it's all down to money. It's where they are now. It's all down to money.
What's your call? You know? What's your call on Fury versus Wilder? Who do you think wins that fight?
Fury again. Yeah,
you go Fury again.
Yeah.
See, I think that, like, don't get to Tyson.
I can see why I do see why you're picking Wilder. You know what I mean?
I just think that, look, the first time, right. Second time, he caught him. Third time, I think he's going to catch him more than once.
I just think...
I think his knockout power is ridiculous. And I think it's all or nothing for him now. He has everything to lose now.
But Fury parries all that power shots a lot, you know. He really takes it, and it looks like he's taking punches. He's not taking...
He kind of catches them at the end of his...
Taking the sting is gone from them, you know. And that's what professional boxing is.
He rolls with the punches very well.
You know, and he does it so well. And
I agree with everything you're saying, but I genuinely, like, you say it, and I get a lot of messages on the podcast as well saying, Jay, you always have to go against everyone. But let's face it, everything I've said so far, do you know what I mean? I haven't been proven wrong yet. And that's not me being big-headed or anything. I just truly believe that I can't see Tyson getting up from two of them.
You need to go down to Paddy Powers.
Yeah, I definitely do. But anyway, Dave, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks again for wrapping me hands. I absolutely loved them.
Oh, yeah.
You know what? Everyone's gonna watch this saying, what the fuck? I didn't want to fucking ruin everything and go off and say, here, cut these for me. Even though it would have only took 2 minutes, you can cut them for me as soon as we're finished. But it's been an absolute pleasure, 100%, and I guarantee he's gonna say the same. I'm gonna watch fights differently after this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'd say,
do you know what I'm thinking back to now? I'm thinking back to, I remember in the UFC, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, the Polish fighter. She got a hematoma like this size.
Oh yeah,
and
she looked like a fucking
I'm gonna go back and watch it and just watch Cutman work on that now. Do you know what I mean? It is. It's very insightful.
In fairness, they probably just looked at that and said, "You're fucked," because that was a whopper.
We need a proper iron. Yeah.
Jay, any final words?
Nah, man, I really enjoyed it. Obviously watching the process of doing the hand wrapping as well. Very insightful. good hearing your story. I think you should continue to push your story a little bit more as well. It's very interesting with the Cutman stuff, and hopefully you get back to work pretty soon. If there's anything for you to plug, whether it's your social media or anything, say it now, your social media channels, where people can follow you.
Well, thanks anyway for having me, lads. It was. I didn't think it was going to be able to last this long. I was going to be out here in 15 minutes. Yeah, it was great to talk the stories, talk the talk again. Yeah. Anybody wants to check me out, I'm on Instagram, Dave Cut-man Kavanagh. And just give me a message. Yeah.
Perfect. Have you anything else going on, Dave, at the minute? Any kind of other projects you're working on or that, and we can look forward to, or any up and coming fighters that you think we should look out for?
Well, there's plenty of young Irish followers coming up. There's a competition. There's a pro boxing event happening, and I think it's 2 weeks' time in Portugal. Celtic Clash.
Right.
Most guys be able to see it online, that kind of stuff. Again, follow them on Instagram, get a look, Celtic Clash. All Irish fighters have to travel to Spain to get a fight,
Yeah.
That's another side of things, if you want to go down the road of talking about boxing federations and insurances and everything, that's big here in Ireland. It's very hard to hold competitions, when you have to hand out X amount thousands before you can even get a show on the road, where you can just travel up to Belfast and do it abroad cheaper than you can do it here on your own doorstep.
Of course, I suppose that's a good topic for the next time you come on, Dave.
Yeah, 100%.
Controversially.
Yeah. So make sure to like, share, subscribe, and follow us on @DidYouHearShow on Twitter and Instagram.
Look at this fella. First he's the engineer, now he's the marketing expert. Well, thanks for watching, folks.
It doesn't pay me enough.
We'll see you soon.
Nice one, lads.
Cheers, Dave. Enjoyed that.
My ears are sweating. That was very good, Dave. Fair play, man. Thanks very much for that.
No bother, fair play. You just kept it going.